Are you overwhelmed and exhausted as a mom and you want to improve your health habits and the habits of your kids and your family, but you are so tired you don't even know how to start? As a mom who used to have no consistent health habits whatsoever, I can totally understand the weight of feeling responsible for our family's health and feeling so tired can be crushing. And at the same time, you can feel so bad because you want to be doing things that are better for your health, better for the people around you. So I have several things that I would recommend. So often we just assume that being tired as a mom is a given all the time, and to some extent this is true. It is a hard job. It is physically demanding, especially if you have littles, but there can also be some things that compound or make the exhaustion worse or more difficult. So I would ask yourself questions like, is your baby sleeping through the night, and is sleep training something that you would ever consider? I know not every mom is okay with this, but this is something that my mom recommended to me. And I have found it to be helpful at a certain age where I know my kid will sleep 8 to 12 hours a night, depending on the child and whether or not they're teething or whatever. But their normal would be they are sleeping through the night. And for me, this has really helped with the exhaustion because I know that I will probably get to sleep through the night. And that has been a really big gift. So that could be something to look into. Another reason you might be exhausted is if you are not getting any breaks throughout the day. So I call these things foundational routines, but these are the routines that set you up to be able to care for things like health habits, plan, things like that. So some routines that have helped me with this would be the morning time that I've talked about on other episodes where I have my kids stay in their beds for probably like half an hour every morning, and I give them toys to play with. I give them things to do where they're occupied, but I know that even if I had a rough night with the baby, even if I was up late because we were hosting, I know that I have half an hour where I can read my Bible, work out, whatever, before they get up for the day, even if I woke up at the same time as my kids. Another one of these, and I have a course for this linked down below, is a quiet time. So my mom did this, my husband's mom did this. They are like the most fantastic things ever, but it's where when a kid drops their nap in the afternoon, you have them be in their room playing independently, listening to an audiobook for a little bit, and you can get a break as a mom. And again, all of these times would be windows you could fit in health habits like meal planning, fit in habits like working out, fit in habits like journaling, dealing with stress, whatever it is, anything that can help you as a mom feel rejuvenated and better able to take care of your kids. So I would really recommend this if you haven't implemented things like that already. That being said, as a mom of 3 kids who are currently 4 and under, I totally understand that sometimes you're just exhausted because you have small children. You're going to be tired. So this listener may be in that situation as well. So I'm also going to dive into some practical things you can do. So one of the first things that I would recommend as a practical thing is to try to develop habits that you can build on. So it is more important to do one 5-minute workout 6 days a week than an hour-long workout. And this is not popular advice because you will not just lose weight overnight. You will not see a dramatic change in your physique in a few weeks or something like that. But the reason for this is that our habits are ultimately what make up our lives, right? And once you have a habit is like a groove in your brain. So if you've ever seen like a ball like a little marble that goes around the toy in the groove and it goes all the way to the bottom, it stays on that course the whole way. And habits are very similar, where once they're established, they're like a little course in our mind, so to speak, where we just fall into the groove day after day. We don't even have to think about it. So very similar to brushing your teeth. You want working out or what you eat to fall into a category of a habit where you don't have to muster up all of this energy every single day. So one of the ways you could do this is by picking the same time every single day to start your new habit, whether that is eating the same thing for breakfast every day, whether that is working out. And then just do 5 minutes doing that habit. And the reason you want it to be the same time in the same way is you want to have a cue for the habit. So you want something to remind you of that. So for going to bed, for example, you have that cue of I'm going to bed, now I go to the bathroom to brush my teeth. So in the same way, maybe you pick a habit like, okay, when my kids go down for their naps, I'm going to do a 5-minute workout every single day. And I'm just going to do that workout immediately after I close the door to the nap. And maybe you've already put on your workout shoes at that point. And then over time, you can increase the length of that workout, increase the challenge of that workout. But I would really recommend starting with something super easy, something that's not even overwhelming. It's something you check off your list really fast. So you don't want to start with something that you're going to be exhausted by because then it's going to be harder to establish the habit. And once you have that habit in place, then it is so much easier to add. And suddenly you can add 10 minutes to the workout and 15. Suddenly you're working out for half an hour and you're doing a more challenging one. But once you have that habit, you have something to build off. If you never have the habit, it's really, really hard to build off of that unsteady foundation. So I'd highly recommend that. And I'd also recommend, if you don't know much about habit formation, I really did not have basic habits. I didn't even wash my face before I went to bed, things like that most people just consider like you do this every day. Had a very chaotic lifestyle prior to being married, and I'm not sure why, but it has helped so much just to establish habits. So I would recommend books like The Compound Effect. Atomic Habits is really helpful. If you have the right habits, then you can change your life. You don't need self-control. These aren't talking about sin issues, but they are really helpful if you're someone that has grown up without very many habits and you're just wanting to enforce basic routine into your life. So I'd highly commend those books to you if you have not read them already. The third thing that I would say are to don't keep foods around that you don't want to eat. So especially if you are in the Christian mom space like I am, something that is valuable in Christian communities is this discipline of hospitality. And that is wonderful, but something that I realized that was affecting the health of our home was because we hosted often, I felt the pressure to make nice desserts. And sometimes that would be multiple times a week. And so what would happen is we would have dessert when the company came over, but then we would also have dessert the next few days. And then by that point, we were hosting again and having more dessert. And I realized dessert was a regular part of my day, sometimes multiple times a day, sometimes in our kids' day, at least once a day. And that was not something that I don't think desserts are bad, but it's also not something you want to be a regular part of your life. So one thing that I have done to shift this is making healthy desserts when we host. So this could be something like energy bites. I make a sugar-free apple crisp with you could put honey or agave syrup in it. In the summertime, we do strawberries and cream when we host. And this is something my kids look forward to, but it's also something that I could feel comfortable if we have leftovers. I've served my kids that apple crisp for breakfast with yogurt. And so that's a really nice way to not waste food. It's not super expensive, but it's not something that I feel like, okay, if we want to host, then we have to eat processed desserts every single night of the week, which honestly, it hasn't worked very well. And for a lot of people who don't host, this may not even be a problem. But for someone like us, we do host enough that was becoming an issue, and it was becoming a habit where we would, the kids would ask, can we have ice cream after dinner pretty much every night? So that was something that was very helpful for me as well. This listener also asks, any practical tips to help picky toddlers learn to enjoy vegetables? I've heard suggestions like serving vegetables as a first course before the main meal. Do you find this approach effective for encouraging kids to try new foods? So I love that the listener's asking this question. This is something that we studied a lot in my background, and I do feel like a lot of the advice we got was really helpful for helping kids love to eat vegetables. So one of my first tips for this is that hunger is the best seasoning. So my husband says this all the time, and I totally agree. So if your kids are coming to a meal 45 minutes after they had half a sleeve of crackers, they are not going to be interested in the vegetables or the rest of the meal, if we're being perfectly honest, unless you have something like chips or processed bread or something like that on the table. They just won't be interested because they're not hungry. So one of the best tips that I have for this is to space out your meals and snacks so that your kids are hungry when they come to the table. My second tip for this is to start forming habits young. So what you give your baby does impact what they are accustomed to eating as an older child. So one of my tips for this is that I try not to give my kids a ton of purees or baby food when they are little, because then they do get used to a really soft texture, and it does make something like a stalk of roasted broccoli, it does make it more intimidating to them, because if they're used to eating just totally pureed bananas or totally pureed pears without any bit of texture in them, it can be a really, really big jump then when they're one to try to introduce things like avocado or rice or soup or roasted veggies. So I'd encourage around 6 months to start for first foods, things like a slice of avocado. I do rice pretty early. I don't ever just give the baby cereal. I would mix it in with regular oatmeal because I want them to have that texture. My mother-in-law told me she would just give her kids whatever they were eating. And so that has been really, really helpful for me with my kids. So if we have soup in the wintertime, I love soup and rice and things like that for small babies. But if I were making like a sweet potato sausage soup, which we make a lot, I just mash it up a little bit with a spoon and then I give it to the 6-month-old. So you don't want any pieces where they could choke. You want everything in it to be mashable. But I try to give them what we are eating as soon as possible, and I don't puree it all the way. So you want little chunks, basically. And it's honestly great because I don't have to make baby food. They can just eat what we're eating. I know my second-born son, he started eating food in the summertime, so we would do things like ground meat and rice. Pretty much like the first week, we started solids. We would do ground turkey mashed with a fork really well, sometimes added with a little bit of water if it's still something I didn't feel like he could mash with his gums. And rice, and again, just mash it a little bit with a fork and serve it to them like that right away. We started with avocado, whole bananas, things like that. And it does really help later on because you don't have this transition phase where they are jumping from one texture to this drastically different texture after they've been eating for 6 months. So I would recommend that. The other thing that I read from a book that was recommended by an older mom was Purposeful and Persistent Parenting. And I would really recommend this book if you're just wanting like practical things for how to, it's kind of broaches the topic of all stages of parents. They're a family that had 8 kids and homeschooled, and it was just really helpful because they totally understand like the dynamic of little children at the table, but they had a whole section on feeding your children, and I will link that book down below as well. But what they said was you start with a small amount of food on the plate, so maybe like a tablespoon of roasted veggies, a tablespoon of soup, a little square of bread, really small amounts, and you have your kids try a bite of everything and they don't have to finish their plates. But if they want more of any food, if they are hungry, they have to finish what is on their plate. And that has been really, really helpful. That's been kind of a sweet spot for us of like having our kids try food, but also not being like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes mealtime can turn into a battle the entire meal. And that's been a nice thing where you have to try a bite of everything. You don't have to finish your plate, but if you want more food, you have to finish everything on your plate. And I know it's not too much food because it's just tiny amounts of everything. But then that gets them in the habit of trying foods. And I think we noticed a big change in our kids' consumption of vegetables after that, because what would happen is I would make these really yummy vegetables like roasted vegetables, broccoli, dressed salads, things like that. I don't do a lot of raw veggies for kids because I genuinely have noticed that my 3-year-old, he hasn't even gotten all of his molars in. So he would have to chew up a carrot, spit it out, and then chew it up again to like be able to swallow it. But I realized that he may not even be totally able to chew the carrot, and therefore it is not as kind to require him to do that on a regular basis at his current age. Like my 4-year-old has no problem because he has all his molars, no problem. But I don't serve those as much. I do usually serve cooked veggies because we have a 6-month-old, or I guess she's 9 months now. Anyways, we have a 9-month-old and a kid that doesn't have his molars yet, so I do serve a lot of cooked veggies, but that has been really, really helpful for increasing the consumption of our veggies. The other suggestion that I have is to put veggies in most of the food options. So make most of your options on the table contain veggies in some form. So this is really nice in summertime. You could do things like salads and put a lot of different veggies on the salad. You can do soups in the winter times and roasted veggies. So I do this a ton in the winter. We have a soup that has veggies in it. So like, for example, maybe chicken noodle soup, which has celery and carrots already with whole wheat pasta in it. And then on the side, you can serve roasted sweet potatoes, I love roasted veggies for kids. And my kids will ask for seconds on those all the time because again, the carb, the pasta is in with the veggies, right? So if they want more soup, then you finish the soup to get more. And then if they want the side of sweet potatoes or they want the veggies, that's the side. I think a thing that a lot of parents do is they might serve like a really, really highly palatable food. Like maybe they serve tortilla chips and soup or bread or something like that frequently. And then what happens is the kid always opts for tortilla chips. And then once they finish their plate, they just want more and more tortilla chips. So it's easier if we just don't serve those things every single night at our table. And then if everything has veggies in it, they eat it if they're hungry. Another thing I will say that has helped is I don't ever bribe, like For example, when we have our kids finish their plates, I don't make veggies seem like they're this thing you have to muscle through. This is something I heard because I do think that all foods are created by God and they are good and they're to be received with gratitude. So for example, if I served whole wheat sourdough with a soup and my kid wanted more bread or my kid wanted more soup, I would have them finish the little bit of bread on their plate. Or if they wanted more, like sometimes this has happened where they want more vegetables, I don't say, oh yeah, you can have more vegetables, but then flip it so that if they wanted more bread, I say, oh, you have to finish your vegetables first. Because otherwise it really, it does communicate to the child. Other foods are really delicious, but but the veggies are the things that you have to muscle through, right? So that is something that you can help minimize as if you aren't using other foods as a bribe to finish your veggies if you're just consistent across the board. If you want more roasted broccoli, finish a little bit of bread on your plate. If you want more soup, finish your chip. Whatever you are serving that day, just to be consistent with that messaging has helped a lot, where you don't I never praise my kid if they eat vegetables. It's just, you have to finish your plate if you want more food. I don't care what it is that you want more of. Another question that I received was, I've heard a lot of moms struggle with their kids asking for processed snack food. My kids definitely ask for it, but I just tell them no. But sometimes crackers are so easy to grab. Sometimes I just give in and give them crackers when they ask. So I would appreciate snack ideas. So I love that this mom is being honest. I can totally relate. If you have crackers around in your house, those are like the most exciting thing. And one thing I've noticed about crackers specifically is they really do not, they don't fill me up. I could eat a whole sleeve of crackers and not feel full afterwards. I don't think they fill kids up very much. So again, they're not bad, but I've found they aren't the most filling snack food if you're looking for something that will totally satiate your child quickly. So some things that I would recommend for this listener, based on what I learned in school and things that have been helpful for my kids and have heard from other moms, would be to start young. So if you have toddlers, in 2 weeks, if you switch the snack options, they're not even going to remember. If you don't have crackers in your house and you switched it up on them and said, now we're doing this, they're going to give you some flack for the first couple days, but then they're just going to fall into line because there aren't any other options and they want their snack. So I just say start young. You're developing their appetites. And it's really nice with little kids because they literally don't remember. There's been times when I've had more processed snacks in our house and then I start offering fruits and veggies, and for a little bit they're not that interested, and then eventually they're like, this is the option, so this is what I'm going to eat today. So I just recommend start young with forming their appetites. Don't feel like if they're 3 years old and they want crackers, you've ruined them forever. Just stop offering crackers and eventually it's going to get better. So I'd recommend that. Some fun things that I have heard from other moms that have been helpful for me as well is to get them involved really early. So sometimes at the store, if I don't just give my kids unlimited options, you could pick whatever you want from the store, but sometimes I ask them, hey, do you guys want oranges or apples this week? And they get to pick. Or sometimes it can be a really fun way to ease into things is if you try something new. So one fun thing, this year it was summertime, or maybe it was fall. I don't even know when pomegranates go on sale. But pomegranates were on sale, and pomegranates are so fun because you can scrape out all the little, I don't even know what they're called, the little seeds inside. And the kids can eat those really slowly. So sometimes it might just be a nice way to ease into it by buying a new kind of fruit from the grocery store and letting them enjoy a new fruit. If you always get apples and oranges, mix it up and buy pears that week as you're easing into doing more fruits and vegetables for a snack. Another thing could be to give them a job to do. So when you get home from the store, you can have them fill up the fruit bowl and put it out in an obvious place. And then that's going to be something your kids naturally ask for. Maybe you have them carry it to the table. I know both my 3-year-old and 4-year-old can do this, where they carry the snack to the table for me and they feel like it was this really happy thing. Erin Lochner, who wrote The Opt-in Culture, but she talks about how a lot of the technology algorithms, they use something where they already make it seem like a party is happening, right? So you literally log into TikTok, video just playing, and as soon as you could see it's already happening. So sometimes I do that for my kids, where I don't even ask them what do you want for snack today? Don't give them an open-ended option. That's not going to go well. But you can just set out on a plate 3 apple slices and a slice of cheese, and they walk in and they're like, ooh, can I have that, right? Because you've already created this appealing snack, and then they want it, as opposed to giving them unlimited options, and then they're like, well, I don't want that. Can I have this instead, Mom? So a lot of it is just framing it and making it appealing and inviting. You could get them involved, and again, you're kind of curating your options, but you say, hey, you can have a snack. You pick anything out of the fruit bowl. So I don't care if you have an apple, an orange, a pear. I really don't care. You get to pick. And sometimes that's nice too, because they get to pick which pear, right? So you give them choices, but it's limited to a certain thing. So you aren't just asking them, what do you want for snack today? The other thing I did read in that Purposeful and Persistent Parenting book that I will link down below that was helpful is they said that if their kids whine, automatically it's a no for them. And I thought that was fair, because they said that kids whine and argue if it works, and the better it works, the more often they do it. So that has been helpful for me to implement, is that if the kids whine for something, they don't get it. And if you don't give in to whining, eventually they give up, right? So I think just being cognizant of that can be helpful. Like if this is something that is coming up regularly, where they're whining for crackers, it can be something where you say, if you whine, you automatically don't get it, honey, so I wouldn't recommend that. And I have a kid right now that is in a phase, that it's after Christmas, he got a little bit spoiled, and fruit isn't as appealing. But like I'll say, you can have an apple or an orange, or you don't have to have anything. And sometimes he'll opt for nothing, and that's fine. But those are his options, and it doesn't change regardless of how much he whines. So I don't know if that is helpful for you guys, but if you have other questions, go ahead and check the link below, and you can submit your questions there. And thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Sugar and Spice Mom Life.